Among the Mongolian tribes of Inner Mongolia, there are traditions about tunnels and subterranean worlds which sound as fantastic as anything in modern novels. One legend, if it be that, says that the tunnels lead to a subterranean world of antediluvian descent somewhere in a recess of Afghanistan or in the region of the Hindu Kush. It is Shangri-La where science and the arts, never threatened by world wars, develop peacefully among a race of vast knowledge. It is even given a name: Agartha. Harold T. Wilkins, Mysteries Solved and Unsolved. According to many myths preserved to this day, a highly developed civilization of people lives deep underground, a mysterious land called Agartha, a true subterranean paradise. Tracy R. Twyman, in her work, The Real Tomb of God, states, "This inner world is lit by an artificial sun, or the smoky god as it has been called, a ball of electromagnetism that is said to provide warmth and light for the inhabitants of the inner earth. Agarthans are said to be highly advanced beings, possessing advanced technology, knowledge, spiritual wisdom, and longevity." Marquis Alexandre Saint-Yves d'Alvedre, a notable researcher in this field, described their extensive investigations into the natural world. They explored everything around them, above and underneath, including the role of magnetic currents flowing from one pole to the other. He continues, "They examined everything in the air, even invisible beings that exist there, even electricity transformed in an echo after being formed in the heart of the earth. This," he explained, "was part of their profound understanding of phenomena that remain mysterious to us. Air fleets of zeppelins have allowed them to observe what is still, for us, out of reach." He also remarked that their electric railroads, made not from iron but from highly durable glass, crisscrossed this kingdom. He concluded, in this realm, chemistry and physics had advanced to the highest degree, unimaginable to the modern reader. Marquis Alexandre Saint-Yves d'Alvedre, The Kingdom of Agartha, A Journey into the Hollow Earth. Dr. Raymond W. Bernard, in The Hollow Earth, Chapter 7, states, "The word Agartha is of Buddhist origin. It refers to the subterranean world or empire in whose existence all true Buddhists fervently believe." He explained that this belief is central to Buddhist teachings about hidden realms beneath the Earth's surface. They also believe that this subterranean world has millions of inhabitants and many cities, he said, elaborating on the scope and population of this mysterious realm. All are under the supreme domination of the subterranean world capital, Shambhala. He continued, "Shambhala is where dwells the supreme ruler of this empire, known in the Orient as the King of the World." Bernard emphasized the spiritual and political significance of this figure, revered in Buddhist tradition. It is believed that he gave his orders to the Dalai Lama of Tibet, who was his terrestrial representative. Bernard concluded, hinting at an intricate network of hidden pathways linking the two worlds. His messages were transmitted through certain secret tunnels connecting the subterranean world with Tibet. In Agartha, beautiful cities flourish. Pastures are filled with herds, and valleys bloom and bear fruit under their own sun, which provides warmth and light. In 1947, Admiral Byrd undertook another flight over the North Pole. His airplane was welcomed by machines of a type he had never actually seen before. His hosts informed him that he had actually been allowed to enter Agartha because of his high moral and ethical status. They claimed to be the protectors of planet Earth, to protect its inhabitants from the scurrilous activities of the power brokers and nefarious government agencies with impure agendas. After the visit, Byrd and his crew were guided back to the outer area of the Earth. Hollow Earth Revisited, Danny Weiss. Helena Blavatsky mentions a place called Vara, where select individuals, representatives of the best lineages on Earth, conceived from the seed of great men and women, reside. In Chapter 14 of Saga of the Aryans, Kaikosru Donjiboy Sethna states, "And now Zarathustra was shown an amazing sight. His eyes saw in a vision the ancient Var, the enclosure and Aryan stronghold of Yimaksheta, king of the Aryans 20,000 years ago. Zarathustra's gaze fell upon a thriving community of splendorous Aryan men, women and children in the Var. They had propagated themselves in the stronghold since the days of Jamshed. Zarathustra was astonished at the wonders he saw in the underground stronghold, which was self-sufficient in every way. Interestingly, Vara is also located at the North Pole, where the sun and moon rise and set only once a year, making a year there last like a single day. Many cultures believed the polar region to be an ancient land and the dwelling place of gods. This Var, located in the ancient homeland Ariane Vaejahi, seedland of the Aryans, in the North Pole, was legendary, and the Aryans had almost lost all memory of it. So distant in time seemed the age of its construction by Yima on the command of Ahura. Chapter 14, Saga of the Aryans, Kaikosru Dunjibhoi Sethna. Nicholas Ruridge also writes about this land. In many parts of Central Asia, there are tales of Agartha, the underground people. Numerous beautiful legends tell the same story of how the best people left the treacherous earth and found refuge in hidden lands, where they gained new strength and harnessed powerful energies. Nicholas Ruridge, Subterranean Dwellers. Agartha was likely created to save the best representatives of humanity during a global catastrophe. It is suggested that the Great Flood, which destroyed Atlantis, occurred due to a shift in Earth's axis and the displacement of the poles. In Beasts, Men, and Gods, Ferdinand Ossendowski states, "You know that in the two greatest oceans of the East and the West, there were formerly two continents. They disappeared under the water, but their people went into the subterranean kingdom. There are many different peoples and many different tribes. It is suggested that the Great Flood occurred due to a shift in Earth's axis and the displacement of the poles. The North Pole was allegedly located near the Himalayas before this shift. During the flood, only righteous and pious people survived, while the rest perished." The idea of pole shifts originates in a talk given in May 1872 by the French ethnographer Charles-Étienne Brasseur de Bourbourg. He interpreted passages in the lost codex Chimalpopoca that indicate at around 10,500 BCE, 4 periods of cataclysms changed the world, each caused by a temporary shifting of Earth's axis. Mark Carlotto, Before Atlantis. According to one legend, centuries ago, the area now known as the Gobi Desert was a beautiful island surrounded by azure seas. In his book Spiritual Astrology, Ekirala Krishnamacharya states, "In ancient times, it was an island of incomparable beauty situated in an inland lake. In the very beginning, human monads used to live there in a dreamlike state. The founding of the spiritual hierarchy of our planet also took place on the White Island. This happened in the midst of the third race, when the sons of will and yoga were born there in an immaculate way, separate from the rest of mankind. The Puranas say that all Vishnu avatars originally came from White Island. According to the wisdom teachings, it is the original eternal land. On this island lived people with advanced technologies unknown to us. They possessed profound knowledge in all fields, and art flourished in their land, with vast wealth. About 12,000 years ago, a catastrophe struck the earth, forcing these people to retreat underground. Does this sound like a fairy tale? Perhaps. However, it is known that ancient tunnels, stretching for many kilometers, have been discovered underground. Eric Norman, in his book This Hollow Earth, states, "There is an ancient legend among the Hindus of India that tells of a civilization of immense beauty beneath Central Asia." He described this legend as one deeply rooted in Hindu culture, suggesting a hidden world of extraordinary splendor. Several underground cities are said to be located north of the Himalayan mountains, possibly in Afghanistan or under the Hindu Kush, he said. This subterranean Shangri-La is inhabited by a race of golden people who seldom communicate with the surface world. He continued, "From time to time, they travel into our land through tunnels that stretch in many directions. These tunnels, he noted, serve as the connection between their world and ours. Tunnel entrances are said to be in Ellora and the Ajanta caverns in the Chandor mountain range of India." After the global cataclysm, some survivors settled in the legendary Shambhala, a mythical land in Tibet, mentioned in several ancient texts. Shambhala appears in both Buddhist and Hindu texts. Buddhism and Hinduism often overlap, thus sharing the same legend. These texts, specifically the Kalachakra Tantra, the Mahabharata, and Vishnu Purana, depict it as an earthly paradise, or a place where gods dwell. The Sanskrit name means place of tranquility. Legend states that only those pure of heart and soul and fully enlightened can enter it. Those who live there acquire vast knowledge, complete happiness, and, most importantly, immortality. The kingdom is hidden from the outside world by 8 mountain ranges. Christine Deabreu, Exploration Mysteries, Shambhala. Legend has it that the population of Agartha Shambhala consists of people from various civilizations that lived on Earth in different epochs. This would mean they possess either the secret of immortality or extreme longevity. Perhaps this is where Gilgamesh went in his search for immortality. He who saw the deep, to whom all things were known. He was wise. He saw mysteries and knew secret things. He brought us a tale of the days before the flood. He went on a long journey, was weary, worn out with labor. Returning, he rested. He engraved on a stone the whole story. The inhabitants of the subterranean kingdom are said to operate extraordinary devices and mechanisms unknown to our civilization, which we might perceive as UFOs. Of course, these are merely hypotheses and assumptions. Nevertheless, Admiral Byrd noted extraordinary flying machines during this venture into an unknown land over the poles. Nicholas Roerich recalls a peculiar incident in Altai Himalaya whilst searching for Agartha. On August 5, 1929, something remarkable happened. We were in our camp in the Kukunoor district, which was not far from the Humboldt chain. In the morning, about 9:30, some of our caravaneers noticed a remarkably big black eagle flying over us, he said, recounting the initial observation that drew their attention skyward. At this same moment, another of our caravaneers remarked, "There is something far above the bird." Roerich added, "We all saw, in a direction from north to south, something big and shiny reflecting the sun, like a huge oval moving at great speed." He explained, "Crossing our camp, the thing changed in its direction from south to southwest, and we saw how it disappeared in the intense blue sky." He continued, narrating the swift movement of the unidentified object. "We even had time to take our field glasses and saw quite distinctly an oval form with a shiny surface, one side of which was brilliant from the sun," he concluded, detailing their clear observation of the mysterious phenomenon. According to a lama who was traveling with Roerich's group, this was a good omen. "A very good sign," he said. "We are protected. Rigden Jeppo himself is looking after us." Jerry Forster, in his book Is the Earth Hollow, suggests the Lama was referring to the prophesied Lord of Shambhala's new era, the ruler of the world, Maitreya, the last avatar of the Kali Yuga, who was to herald in a new age, somewhat as Christ is to bring in the new millennium of peace upon the earth. However, there is reference to an esoteric college of astrology which was to be established in Urga, Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, as a center from which comes the impulse for the imminent renewal of humanity, and to a lord, king, or ruler of the world who is neither Christ nor Lucifer. In Underworld Empire, written by the enigmatic author known simply as Branton, another fascinating account is shared. Our explorer J.D., who is a mountain guide of the Mystery Mountain near Johnville, where there is supposed to be an entrance to Agartha, said that several times he saw a luminous flying saucer ascend from the tunnel opening that leads to a subterranean city inside the mountain. Branton recounts J.D.'s description of this extraordinary phenomenon. In the mountain, he heard the beautiful choral singing of men and women. J.D. also reported the saucer was so luminous that it lit up the night sky and converted it into daylight. According to Branton, this incredible brightness left a lasting impression on the explorer. On one occasion, J.D. recounted, "I met a group of subterranean men outside the tunnel. They were short, stocky, with reddish beards and long hair, and very muscular." Branton highlighted this encounter as one of the most striking elements of J.D.'s story. Throughout my many years of research, I have accumulated a vast amount of data that indicates that these entrances to subterranean cities abound throughout the region, Branton concluded, asserting that similar phenomena have been observed in other locations near Mystery Mountain. Vincent H. Gaddis, in Tunnels of the Titans, writes, "But it is in South America, from the crumbling monuments of old Cuzco to the weird desert of Atacama, below the soil on which the Incas honored the sun and fell before Pizarro and his greed-crazed conquistadores, that our survey of the tunnels of the long-gone Titans assumes its most interesting and concrete picture. These sophisticated structures interconnect continents and allegedly lead to the Earth's core, the mythical Agartha Shambhala. Hundreds of miles in length, these astonishing subsurface avenues have been used in historical times and may conceal much of the lost treasure of the Incas," Gaddis continues, suggesting that the tunnels could hold secrets of immense value. But who can say how much greater wealth, relics of dim millenniums and beings who have passed away like wisps in a dream, awaits the eyes of tomorrow's explorers? Who were these titans, the old ones, of Earth's youth, lords of the flame who inspired traditions of great airships, giants who transported colossal stones, weighing tons hundreds of miles, to erect structures half as old as time? Gaddis asks, introducing the enigmatic figures believed to have created these marvels. With what strange tools did they cut the endless roads deep in the heart of our planet's rocky foundation? He wonders, leaving the reader to speculate about the advanced knowledge or technologies these beings may have possessed. The network of underground tunnels appears to be not thousands, but millions of years old. With dimensions so vast, they seem to have been constructed by giants rather than humans. Spanish researcher Silvia Velando states, "An interesting legend about the mythical Shambhala or Agartha and the stories that come from it is linked to this South American enclave, which even today remains a mystery to be deciphered. Explorers such as Juan Moritz and priests such as Carlos Crespi are said to have found in the lost tunnels of Ecuador sheets of stone and gold with engraved ideographic signs that describe the origins of human history, as faithfully recorded by Eric von Däniken in The Gold of the Gods. In Ireland, there is a belief that the Druids, who once inhabited the land, descended underground and still live there beneath the hills. In Ecuador, a system of subterranean passages and ventilation shafts of enormous length was found. In the Karakoram region, local residents claim that vast underground chambers stretch for many kilometers beneath the surface. Researchers have even heard the sounds of machinery operating deep underground at some of these locations. There is beyond the Himalayas a nucleus of adepts, of various nationalities, and the Teshu Lama knows them, and they act together, and some of them are with him and yet remain unknown in their true character, even to the average lamas. My master and KH and several others I know personally are there, coming and going, and they are all in communication with adepts in Egypt and Syria, and even Europe. I said and proved that they could perform marvelous phenomena, but I also said that it was rarely they would condescend to do so to satisfy inquirers." Madame Helena Blavatsky, letter to Franz Hartmann. March 24, 1890. In his 1922 book titled Beasts, Men and Gods, Ferdinand Ossendowski tells a story he claims was imparted to him through Martinist channels. Ossendowski was told of the miraculous powers of the Tibetan monks, and the Dalai Lama in particular, which foreigners could barely comprehend. But he continued, "There also exists a still more powerful and more holy man, the king of the world in Agartha." In his conclusions on the hollow earth, Raymond Bernard writes, "All cities in the Agartha network are physical and are of the light, meaning that they are in the tradition of the great mystery schools of the surface, honoring such beings as Jesus, Sananda, Buddha, Isis, and Osiris. All of the ascended masters that we of the surface know and love, in addition to spiritual teachers of their own long-standing heritage." Bernard emphasizes the spiritual and cultural richness of these subterranean cities, tying them to ancient wisdom traditions. Why did they choose to live underground? He asks, drawing attention to the reasons behind their decision to withdraw beneath the surface. Consider the magnitude of the geological Earth changes that have swept the surface over the past 100,000 years, he continues, pointing to catastrophic events that may have necessitated their retreat. He further explains, consider the lengthy Atlantean-Lemurian War and the power of thermonuclear weaponry that eventually sank and destroyed these two highly advanced civilizations. According to Bernard, the destructive forces unleashed during this conflict were devastating, leaving a lasting mark on the Earth. The Sahara, the Gobi, the Australian outback, and the deserts of the US are but a few examples of the devastation that resulted. Bernard notes using these desolate regions as evidence of the catastrophic changes wrought on the planet's surface. The sub-cities were created as refuges for the people and as safe havens for sacred records, teachings, and technologies that were cherished by these ancient cultures, he concludes, suggesting that these underground networks were both practical sanctuaries and repositories of knowledge from lost civilizations. In Isis Unveiled, H.P. Blavatsky writes, "Spheres unknown below our feet, spheres still more unknown and more unexplored above us. Between the two, a handful of moles blind to God's great lights and deaf to whispers of the invisible world. There comes a time when the rationality of men must fade into insignificance, and one must accept the inevitability of the truth." Lastly, from the diary of Admiral Byrd, I am not at liberty to disclose the following documentation at this writing. Perhaps it shall never see the light of public scrutiny, but I must do duty and record here for all to read one day. In a world of greed and exploitation of mankind, we can no longer suppress that which is truth. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Keep an eye out for our next upload.